Carole, have you started recording?
Good morning, everyone. I have begun the recording. If you do not wish to have your video on display of the recording, you may stop your video. It's my very great pleasure today to introduce the first of our series that we are bringing you for your training to become confident in using Zoom. This is part of the online training team's training called Moving Meetings Online. And this is number 1, or 101 as we're calling it, where you, I hope, will become a confident Zoomer by the time you have spent the next hour and a bit with us. There will be further information that I will bring to you at the end of the session, but right now I want to introduce to you your team. We have Ranga as our Toastmaster of the day, and he has a team that he will introduce as well. I'm handing over controls to you now, Miranda.
Thank you, Carole. Well, I guess I'd better introduce my team. I'm not sure where they are on your screen, but there's Donovan, Ryan, and so Donovan, if you could introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all.
Cool. And there's our timekeeper, Fanny. I don't know how to pronounce your surname.
That's fine. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you.
Cool. There's Christina Barbonio.
Hi, everyone.
There's Kate Norris, who will be doing a wonderful educational for us later.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Cool. And I hope I haven't forgotten anyone in my team, but if I've forgotten anyone in my team, please shout out now. Okay, cool. So as Carole has said, this is a beginner's Zoom session. If you want to learn about how to host a meeting, that will be done in a later session. Okay, cool. Oh, wait a second. Let me share my screen first. Okay, cool. So, now I realize it's pointless for me to say, can you hear this if you can't hear me? But hopefully the people who don't have their sound on will see these symbols later, but I think Carole's gone through and checked with everyone that they could hear her.
Yeah.
Cool. So this is our agenda for today. We'll have 3 educationals. Really, there's one educational in the middle, which is Present Yourself at Your Best by Kate Norris from District 69. The first one is where we'll be trying to get you up to speed with the Zoom controls. I'm guessing that most of you will have no problems with this, but we're trying to get everyone up to being able to see speaker view, gallery view, and being able to use the controls. And then we hope by the end of this session that people will feel comfortable introducing a friend or another club member from your club to use Zoom. So that's the idea. And there'll be question and answer sessions along the way, and you can interrupt if you like, and not during Kate's presentation, hopefully, but you can interrupt if you like and say that you're totally lost. Christina will be scouting the grid, the gallery view, to see if anyone's looking bewildered. So if you're totally lost, try to look properly bewildered. At the end of the meeting, Carole will remind you to save the chat, and we'll show you how. As mentioned, there are upcoming events in the District 73 calendar. If you are interested in hosting Zoom meetings or you want to find out more about that, on April the 19th, that's the session for you to go to. Okay. So at this point, I will stop sharing and I will hand over to Fanny, who will introduce the timing devices.
Welcome everyone. My pleasure to introduce you to the timekeeping in this interesting situation. I changed my name to Timekeeper. In this way, everyone knows that what I show in my thumbnail, this picture, it's the timekeeping cards, basically. If you want to have my picture or this thumbnail always in front of, then I will share my screen and show you how to do that. So, sorry about the pictures. In case you want to have my thumbnail always in front, then please hover your mouse to the right up corner to my picture. Then please click on the ... Then will be a drop-down menu, and please click on the pin video. In this way, my thumbnail will be pinned in front of the all thumbnails, and you will be able to see my picture always. I will stop sharing now. This one, yes. And as the speeches will begin, I will cover my video feed like this, showing that there is nothing to see as nothing to show as a timekeeper for now. When the speaker reaches the green time period, then I will show this green picture. When the speaker will reach the yellow zone, then I will show this yellow picture. And when the speaker reaches the red area, then I will show this red picture. Just in case someone is way over their time limit, I will show this picture too. Please stop the stop the speaking as soon as possible. This is all I can say now, and if you have any questions, please just let me know.
Are there any questions for Fanny? Oh, by the way, in an online meeting, in online clubs, they tend to use jazz hands to indicate applause. You can, of course, applaud like that, but since most of you will be muted, no one will hear your applause. So we tend to use jazz hands.
For Ranga, just a question, or it's going back to the timekeeper. I don't think you can pin an image if you're on a device that only works on a desktop. Would that be a fair comment?
Sorry, are you on a desktop?
No, I'm using an iPad, so I think
yes.
I don't think I get that optionality.
Christina, will you be able to answer this?
I'll have a test. I think I've done it before, but if you, so there's two screens. So if you swipe, you should be able to see Fanny's thumbnail.
I can, but as far as actually pinning the image.
Yeah, no, unfortunately not for the Android. The pinning of the timekeeper is only for the speaker. If you're only presenting, but if you're just attendee, you wouldn't have to do this. So just to clarify, the pinning of the timekeeper is only for the speaker, so the speaker knows his time or her time.
Okay. So if I'm doing a speech, I probably really need to be going from a desktop so I can be able to pin the timekeeper.
You can, yes, that will be most appropriate. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What you could try, Paul, is if you're in gallery view on your device, if you double tap on the image of the person speaking, that might pin it.
Yes, I'm not sure. I'm not sure on an iPad, to be honest. I'll have to play around with it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get back to you after then in the Q&A session.
We might move along a little bit. I just want to quickly show a few things, and then we'll make it a bit more interactive again. Okay, so. Right. Okay, so we are going to be doing basic Zoom controls. There should be a word called reactions on this first slide, which I forgot to put there, but hopefully people we'll see that later. Oh, just a second. I hope people don't mind me using this because my timekeeper disappeared when I went to full screen. Okay, so there are 5 things for us to learn today. Reactions, chat, mute, stop video, start video, and the speaker view versus gallery view. If you can do those, we can consider that we've figured out our controls for today. Okay, so hopefully there should be a toolbar at the bottom of your screen. It's possible that if you don't see a toolbar, you might have to mouse over your Zoom window if you're on a desktop or a laptop, or you tap your touch screen to bring up your controls. There are settings in Zoom that will allow these controls to stay there all the time, and during the more interactive section, we'll show you how to do that. Okay, so if you're on a touch screen, it might look something like this, where there are no controls at the bottom. We want you to see controls something like that. So for the audio, the video, and if you see in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see 3 dots and more, and this might vary depending on what touchscreen device you have. You'll be able to select chat, or to raise a hand, or to have these reactions, applauding or thumbs up, and we'll try and get into that a little bit later. So if you've selected the chat, right down the bottom, there will be a place where you can type a message to everyone. Where it says everyone, you can, if you press that, it'll bring up a list of all of the meeting participants, and you can send private messages to particular people. The More button is sometimes 3 dots. In my machine, it'll be 3 dots. I'm using a Mac. And if you click on this, you'll be able to save the chat later on, and Carole will remind you of that later. The last thing I want to talk about while I'm still in Keynote is to talk about the difference between gallery view and speaker view. When this is a picture of speaker view, slightly blurred, and ironically, when you're in speaker view, in the top right-hand corner, it will say gallery view. And that's because that's the button that will enable you to switch over or to toggle into gallery view. Once you've toggled into gallery view, it'll bring up all of the participants, or at least up to 25 participants in our settings. And when you're in gallery view, up the top right-hand corner, it should say speaker view. Okay, and so hopefully now you know what I'm referring to when I'm talking about the various different buttons. So the buttons that we'll be dealing with are mute, start video, it might say stop video, chat, and reactions. And I'll try and do that a little bit more interactively now. Okay, cool. So I'm back with you all. So we'll start with the reactions. Can people, okay, wait a second, I'll do this. On my reactions, when I press that, there will be a clapping hands symbol and a thumbs up symbol. If you can see this on your toolbar, could you please give me a thumbs up saying that, yes, you can see it? Excellent, I'm seeing lots of thumbs up coming up on the screens, but there are a few people. Oh, Cleo, I like seeing your thumbs up from your physical hand, but I'd love to see your virtual thumbs up. Excellent, there we go. And I'll just swap over to the other screen. So my lovely co-hosts, were there people who couldn't bring up their virtual thumb?
Yes, Moranga, Miranda is having trouble.
And Alex, I believe. Okay, so Alex, oh, sorry, we'll go to Miranda first. Miranda, do you see a button called reactions at the bottom of your screen? Oh, sorry, Mirella, you're muted at the moment. Wait a second, I'll unmute you. Okay, Mirella, do you see a button called reactions? Oh, I still can't hear Mirella. Okay, so here, and Carole and Christina, you can help me out. Mirella, I'm not sure if you've selected your microphone. So for other people, next to the mute button in the bottom left-hand corner, if you click on the little up arrow next to it, you can see where you can select your microphone. So I'm not sure if, Mirella, if you've selected the microphone. So I'm using my built-in microphone here. Oh gosh, I'm up to the yellow already. Okay. I'm sorry. Hopefully we can get past that. We'll come back to you, Mirella, a little bit later, or if Carole, you can send someone into a breakout room with Mirella. Alex, oh, cool. I see your thumbs up. Excellent. Cool. So we'll keep going. So the two other buttons. Okay, so for people who don't see these controls permanently on, if you click the up arrow next to stop video, you'll see video settings. And in the video settings, in this screen, there'll be something called accessibility. That was probably not very well explained. I'm up to red. I see that. There's a option in your meeting controls to always show your meeting controls. Okay, and if you click on that, and there'll be something similar for touch screens, that'll enable your controls always to be there. Okay, so since I'm over time, I will see if I can quickly show a couple of things before ending. And in the Q&A, perhaps we can figure out where we are. In the mute, there are two buttons, mute and stop video. So I hope that during most of a session while someone else is speaking, you'll have your mute pressed down. So I'll press my mute. So you wouldn't have been able to hear me while my mute was on. So when I press the mute, there'll be a red slash through the mute button. Normally, we want to see your faces in a meeting, and we'll, so that as a speaker, I can get some feedback as to what's going on. But sometimes if, say, you've got a lot of activity behind you, you might want to shut your video off. And other reasons for shutting your video might be if you're experiencing bandwidth issues, and you'll get probably a message from Zoom, you can turn off your own video, and that might save you a little bit of bandwidth. Or if you want to eat something or get up from the table and go somewhere else, just stop your video. You can leave. We won't know. When you come back, start your video. At this point, I'll ask for one more thing. So can everyone try and open up their chat by pressing the chat button if you haven't already? And perhaps type in the name of your home Toastmasters club, so we can get an idea of where everyone is from. Ah, excellent. Thank you very much, Fanny. I shall stop now.
Thank you, Moranga.
Cool.
I guess it's hard when you are presenting and being Toastmaster of the day, so I'm providing a short gap for your thinking process and welcome you back to the stage.
Cool. Are there any questions? Oh, by the way, one more thing. You can either, if you want to ask a question, you can unmute yourself by taking your mouse or your finger down to where it says mute. Or for the people who are on desktops or laptops, you can briefly press the space bar and that should briefly unmute you.
Look, Moranga, just a comment there. Look, I appreciate everything you've mentioned there. And certainly, most of your illustrations of the controls are very relevant to a desktop or a laptop. I was finding there that if you're using a device such as an iPad, an iPhone, maybe a Samsung phone, the controls are in rather different places, such as the controls up the top right-hand corner on the iPad, for example. And so it might be just a little observation.
Do they look a little bit like that, or do they look different?
No, they are somewhat different. They're not down the bottom, they're actually up the top there in some cases. So, I mean, you go to more on the top right-hand corner, you get chat, you get meeting settings, you get minimize meeting, then you get virtual background. So I just, but I found 2 or 3 other things there. They're in very different spots, which I was aware of anyway. So.
Do you see your controls all the time?
Yes, up on the top bar on the top of the iPad there. Yep.
Excellent.
Sorry, Paul. I'm sorry, Ranga. Yeah. So on an iPad or an iPhone, the default speaker view. So if you want to go to gallery view, you've got to swipe from right to left.
Yeah.
And if you're on an iPad, you can only see 4 at a time. I think that's the limitation. So a chat like this with a lot of people, you got to do a lot of swiping if you want to see everyone. But if you double tap one of those videos, it should pin it to that spot. So I
can't pin. I don't think I can pin on an iPad. That's where
you have to double tap the image and it should pin it. But yeah, that's what you're right. That's one of the differences between a device and I
know. Yep.
Cool. Okay. Do we have any other questions?
Moranga, it's Carole here. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
This may be an advanced question, so if it is, just say I'll answer that in the next session. But one of the things I struggle with is what I'm looking at the moment now. I have the thin bar down the side where I've got about 5 people I can see. Yep. A shared screen, which is your screen at the moment. Now, sometimes when I'm having a meeting, somebody will say, I'm being a district officer, can you go on to check the dashboard, or can you go on to Google to check something, etc. In situations like that, I find it difficult to get out of this into my normal icons so I can find Google and get onto
I see, okay.
Yeah, just so much on. What's a simple way of doing that?
I'm not sure whether you'll consider this a simple way. There are 2 ways that I use. On my laptop, I have virtual desktops, and I have Zoom in one virtual desktop, and I can swipe my trackpad and change to another virtual desktop. Are you familiar with using virtual desktops on a laptop?
No, I'm not. I'm actually using a desktop at the moment.
Okay. There might be something similar that you can do on a desktop.
Yeah, Frank, you know what you can try is if you double click the left mouse button, that should bring you out of the full screen view, or you can hit escape and that should take you back to the window view. Yeah. So either of those options should work.
And Carole, I don't suppose are you using a Mac or a Windows box?
I'm in Windows, I'm not using Mac.
All right, okay. For people who are using Macs, if you can hit the F3 button, that will briefly minimize all of your windows and you can find what you're looking for. The other thing, and this is not a solution that's open to everyone, but this is what I tend to do. I actually, whenever I'm in an online meeting, I have 2 monitors running. I have a separate monitor that's sitting behind my laptop. So sometimes if you see my head tilted upwards, it's because I'm looking at my other monitor. And that's where I keep all of the chat and the participants view and my browser and all of these other things and WhatsApp and everything like that. And so if I need to look up any other documents, I'll do it in another monitor. But I realize that this option isn't really open to everyone, especially if you're on a touchscreen.
Excuse me, Moranga. I'm just letting you know that I did stop sharing your screen sharing.
Sure.
because that makes it easier for people who are having trouble.
Yep.
So that's another little tip for us as presenters, to only use the screen sharing whilst you really need it.
Okay, cool.
Viranga, I still see your screen sharing.
Oh.
I know Carole tried it on. There you go. Now it's gone. Thank
Cool.
you.
Cool. Apologies, everyone. So, do other people have cleverer ways to help Carole?
One way that Carole could pre-prepare is to open up a screen in the background and then just use Shift Tab, and he should be able to go to that. Oh, sorry, it's Alt Tab, isn't it? Alt Tab, and he should be able to scroll through his various screens till he gets to the one he wants to open up, and then sees that, and then just do Alt Tab to get back to the meeting to continue talking. So you can have multiple windows open, but don't have too many, because it could take you a long time to get around the windows.
Yeah. Yes, that's something I've also noticed. If I have lots of windows open and lots of tabs in my browsers open, Zoom gets confused. And so when I'm in a Zoom session, I tend to try and have as much turned off as possible. Now, I think we'd better move along with this meeting, and we'll come to our second educational, which because I've seen it before, I know that this will run a whole lot smoother than mine. So we have Kate Norris, who's a visiting Toastmaster from District 69. That's Queensland, Papua New Guinea, and I guess a few other places. And Kate will be teaching us how to present ourselves well online, the best practices for that. And Kate has sent me an intro for herself, and I shall now read this out. Okay, so Kate Norris, DTM, is a member of 2 clubs in Brisbane, Down Under and Leading Edge. She is very confused on Thursday nights because she's rarely missed a meeting in almost 12 years, and it feels very strange to be at home instead with her clubmates. But she's been impressed by how clubs are embracing the online environment. She's going a little nuts being cooped up in a small house with a husband, 2 small children, and 2 cats. And she says all of them are equally obedient. So I'd like to introduce Kate Norris with her educational Present Yourself at Your Best. Present Yourself at Your Best, Kate Norris.
Thank you so much, Ranga. Thank you everyone so much for having me. As Ranga just said, I'm from District 69, which is Queensland, Northern Territory, and Papua New Guinea, so close. So I run a communications company, and for the last couple of months, really, we've been moving to online communication and helping people run their online meetings, and this translates directly into Toastmasters, which I think is how I've ended up giving this educational a couple of times. So there's a couple of things that I want to go through today. There's 3 things. And the first one is going to be about how we can outline our expectations of an online meeting and help us stay in control. The second one is about our camera and thinking about what we actually display on our cameras. And then the third is about using our voice and body on camera as well. So I reckon we just get into it and fly through this in under 15 minutes. All right, so outlining expectations when you're starting a meeting. If you're the Toastmaster or maybe the VPE or whatever position you're in, if you're responsible for that meeting, it's a really great idea at the start of the meeting to be able to put people in a place of knowing exactly what's going on and helping them, helping yourself manage the meeting and helping them feel a bit more confident and certain about what's going to happen. There's a couple of ways that we do this. Carole did this well at the beginning, as did Ranga as well. We've had a bit of a chat so far. The first one is letting everybody know that they're going to be on mute, because sometimes what happens is someone will join a meeting, they see themselves on mute, and they kind of freak out a little bit, and they think, oh, I need to take myself off mute. So then you try and mute them again, and they take themselves off mute, and then you end up with like Jenny's sink in the background because she won't take herself off mute. But if you can just let people know, look, we're going to keep you on mute for the whole time and only unmute when you actually need to be the speaker. That really helps with making sure that you don't hear all these different things going on in the background. The second is letting them know that their video ideally will be on. Because in a Toastmasters meeting, we get to actually see people, we get to see their reactions. We're not just speaking to a black screen. And I don't believe in necessarily telling people to be respectful, because telling people to be respectful is not going to make them respectful. It just isn't. But if you can suggest to them and remind them that to be an engaged audience member, you need to be giving feedback with your face and actually showing people that you're there and that you haven't just turned your camera off and walked off. So I think it's worth giving people a little reminder. And this can just be as simple as, hey guys, welcome. Love for you to have the video on so we can engage with you. It doesn't have to be a draconian sentence, but just making sure that you mention it to people. Okay, number 2 is what you show on your camera. Now, first I'm going to talk about our camera setup. When you have your webcam or whatever it is, if you can have your camera at eye level approximately, because otherwise we get people on a laptop, and I'm just going to move my webcam here, and you end up getting this view of them straight up their nose. That's not nice. Or it's too high and you can see just the top of their head. Again, not ideal. So if you can try and set up your camera to be eye level. For me, actually, I'm going to move my webcam again. For me, I'm on a laptop. I have a pile of books. It's literally just a pile of books holding my webcam up. It's nothing fancy at all. Just make it however way you need to, make it eye level. Okay. And in terms of being in the shot, all you need is your head and shoulders. Fill the screen as much as possible. Now I've totally messed up my angle. There we go. If you can have your head and shoulders in, you'll be surprised how much expression you can get. And like I said, fill the actual screen. So then when people do have you on speaker view, then you've actually got an entire person there. If you're too far back, then you just get like a little head down the bottom. Or if you're too close, this is just weird. Nobody likes this. Don't be too close. So I want to chat about, actually, no, I'm going to go into that later. Okay, in terms of what we look like, my clubs meet at night, as do a lot of clubs. And sometimes it can be easy if we've been in the garden all day and then just eaten dinner and then to turn up to our meeting looking like you've been in the garden all day. We need to remember that we need to dress for our online meetings and turn up the exact same way that we would turn up to our club in person. So if this means for you brushing your hair, putting some clean clothes on, that kind of needs to be what you still do on an online meeting. You need to think about how you want to show up in the world. I know it feels like you're at home, but you're still projecting yourself out into the world. For me, I'm probably a bit more of an extreme version of this. I've always got some sort of weird makeup going on. But I'm just at home, but you need to remember that people are still getting a view into you and into your life. And on that, I want to talk about our backgrounds. We've had a lot of good playing with our backgrounds. And again, keep in mind, this is a view into your life. If you've got people, if you've got a camera looking into your house, have a think about what they can see. For me, I've just got my daughter's school desk. It's not distracting. There's nothing really going on. If I was in my other study, I've actually I've kicked my son out of his room. So I've got an actual neat area at the moment. But if you've got, if you're in my study, behind me is the house that has been just ransacked by my kids at the moment. And it's not how I want to show up. On a normal day when I'm not cooped up inside, it is a lot more tidy than it is at the moment. And that's just not what I want to display. And also, people get really snoopy and they look at what is behind you. I guarantee if you have something in your house, if you've got a bookshelf that people can read, they will read the titles of your books. People look into other people's houses. I do it. It's just what we do. So just making sure that what people can see, you've actually thought about. Virtual backgrounds. Okay. Virtual backgrounds are so much fun, and I do love them. And we just have to be conscious about being distracting. If your background is distracting, a virtual background is great to use. Please keep in mind if it is moving, if it is constantly changing, what do you want the focus to be on? Do you want it to be on you or on your background? Because for me personally, I want my focus to be on the message that I'm trying to send. Christina has just said, avoid changing them while the meeting's ongoing. Yeah, absolutely. To avoid distracting the speaker, as just demonstrated. Okay, the TI ones are really nice if you've got a background that's just not distracting. I love a background that's a virtual background that's just like an office or a study or a lounge room, just something that doesn't look like totally crazy or weird, like no one believes that you're in space. So just have some consideration for what is behind you. And again, like everything, making sure that you are displaying the personal brand that you want to display. Okay, last thing to talk about is our voice and our body. We seem to have this real fear in Toastmasters that if people can't see our entire body, then we lose all expression. We just can't do it. We can't present anywhere near as we could if we were in a room together. But your shoulders and your face and your voice can display so much emotion and expression by themselves. Don't be too concerned about feeling like you need to stand up to deliver your speech, because a couple of things can happen. I'm going to stand up and show you. I have to stand so far back my whole body in. And how's my volume now? Not so great. It's probably okay because I'm a very loud person. I do yell a bit. But if you stand too far back and your microphone isn't great, you lose a lot of volume. And if you lose volume, you lose expression and you lose words. And that is exactly when people start to zone out. Don't underestimate what you can do with your face and your shoulders and your hand in camera. Because this does seem to stump a lot of people. I think if I can't stand up, I can't give a speech. Yes, you can. You absolutely can. You can do so much with your hands, your face, and your voice. But just do keep in mind that the camera, for some reason, I have no idea why this is, seems to take out a little bit of expression, both in your face and your voice. So you do have to just be a little bit conscious about making sure that your face and your voice do have a lot of color in them. And in your evaluations, don't be surprised if you get the point for improvement that maybe you need to add more expression. Maybe you need to add more vocal variety. And you think, hang on, I've just been working on that for the last however many years. How am I still getting these points for improvement? But your camera is going to change it just a little bit. And it's worth just hamming it up just a tiny little bit more for your camera, because you are competing with someone's entire computer and their house and their kitchen. So you need to be more engaging than at a Toastmasters meeting where all they've got is their agenda in front of them. You are competing with all these exciting things. So you need to be more engaging than normal. And it's a great way to practice is online, because you will take all of these skills that you build online straight back to your club and you will be a better presenter for it, I guarantee. So there are 3 things that if you can nail these 3, you will be an amazing presenter online. And like I said, be able to take that back to your club in person as well, if we ever get out of our houses. First is outline your expectations for people. The second is have a think about what your camera shows, whether that's you, your background. And the third thing is your voice and your body, making sure that you are still giving everything that you have and being full of expression when you're presenting online. Thank you very much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be in a completely different district. Mr. Toastmaster, Ranga.
Thank you very much, Kate. We're running a little bit behind time, so I might ask Donovan to do his presentation about how to help other people get onto Zoom. And then we can come back to maybe some impromptu speaking or more question and answer. Carole, does that sound reasonable? Or
sounds reasonable to me, Miranda.
Cool. So Donovan, are you, well, before Donovan, because I think I might have caught Donovan a little bit by surprise. What I was thinking was that it's great that some people can connect to Zoom, and I congratulate all of you for having connected to Zoom, because you've done the hardest thing. But for a lot of other people in your clubs, this might be too hard and they might be confronted by it. And the reason that I thought of having this next session is that one of our members of our club, our president, in fact, of Donovan and my bricks and mortar club, was totally confronted by having to connect to Zoom. And luckily, Donovan has such a lovely bedside manner that he managed to coach our president through connecting through to the Zoom session. And so I thought I'd ask Donovan to explain to other people how perhaps they could coax other reluctant members into Zoom. Donovan.
Okay, thanks, Moranga. Can you start the presentation, please?
Oh, so you don't have it yourself. Okay, cool.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just going to, is it in your deck?
Just a second, just a second.
Okay, thanks.
So perhaps you can tell people about, while I find your presentation. All right, okay, cool. Okay, trying.
Okay, so it's maybe just a bit of background on myself. I guess what makes me qualified to talk about this. And I've probably spent maybe 20 years working in IT. I think a big thing working in IT is the whole customer service side of things. Now, I don't want to say I'm an expert at it, but I think I've dealt with all ranges of people, from people being very upset to people that are very easy to work with. So what I wanted to share with you all today is an acronym ACT. And this is just really 3 steps to create a great customer experience. A great customer experience for the members of your club, or also a great experience for visitors or guests to your club that could eventually lead into be future members. So ACT, go to the next slide, please. It stands for acknowledge, connect, and thank. So under the acknowledge, yeah, next slide, please, Moranga, is to start with a friendly greeting. My internet went down on Saturday, and the guy from NBN came out to fix it. And he didn't even say hello to me. He just turned up and said, "Is this the address?" So I think it's a really simple thing that a lot of people kind of ignore, but just start with a really friendly greeting when someone contacts you for support. The next one is connect. And this is listen and give information, give solutions. When I had that guy over for the NBN, I told him that on Saturday, there was someone up the power pole doing something with the cables. And ever since that person did that, the internet didn't work. And then he spent the next hour going through the house to try and find the problem there before he actually went up the power pole and then fixed it. So I think also important to listen to people when they're trying to explain the problems that they're having before you start jumping into solutions. So that's connect. Then the last one is to thank. And under thank, I think we picked in here, invite to contact again. So once you've solved the problem, you've got them up and running, you can say, please let me know if you have any other trouble. I'm happy to help. Just to leave them feeling positive that they're not, that there's someone there to help them with their issues. Okay, so when it comes to Zoom and connecting to a meeting, you've all gone through this. Let's make the assumption that the meeting has been emailed out to your members and your guests. And when they click on the link, they'll get taken to a web page. And on that web page, it'll say, download and run Zoom. And you click that, it'll download, and then you run it, and then you're in the meeting. And so that probably works 99% of the time. But what we've seen, what Ranga touched on with our president, is he's using his work computer. And a lot of these kind of corporate computers are restricted in the types of software that can be installed. So if the download and run Zoom doesn't work, you'll then get a prompt to ask to join through the browser. Now, Varanga's tip here is to use Chrome. So if you get someone who can't download and run and they have to do it through the browser, do it through Chrome. On the Zoom support site, they've got a list of all the browsers and the features that are supported. Chrome ticks all of the boxes. So to just save yourself a whole lot of pain, just use Chrome if you want to join via a browser. But let's say we get to that point, even then they have trouble joining, we're going to have to give them, I guess, take the support to the next level. And so what I found works best is you actually want to see what they can see. And the easiest way to do that is to use a video chat app. So WhatsApp is pretty popular. A lot of people have WhatsApp and you can do a video call through that. If they've got an iPhone and you have an iPhone, FaceTime is really easy because it just comes out of the box and it just works. And once you connect to, and it could be anything, it could be Facebook Messenger, whatever the app is. And once you connect to the other person, ask them to flip around and use the rear camera so that they can hold that on their screen so you can see what they're seeing, and then you can help talk them through those previous 2 steps that we just touched on. I think worst case is you can always just do a call over the phone. A little bit harder because you have to rely on them to explain it to you, but that's kind of the preference, I think, is to use a video type application to step them through the process. So that was all I really wanted to say on the tip, but I just want to leave you with the acronym ACT. Acknowledge, start with a friendly greeting, connect, listen, and give solutions, those ones that we just touched on, and then thank. Invite them to connect back again if they continue to have any troubles. Okay, so that's it for my presentation, and I'll hand back to you, Veronica. And if there's any questions, I think we've got a chance to do them now.
Does anyone have any questions? And anyone from the team, and I guess anyone from the audience, I guess we can try and answer your questions.
Miranda, it's Carole.
Yep.
I wanted to also include the question and answer for Kate. There might be some questions from the audience on her presentation. So
Definitely.
Feel free to put those into the chat. And if you're not able to use your microphone today, I'll read them out.
Cool. Okay, so do we have any questions for either Kate or Donovan? Maybe we can start with questions for Kate. Oh, sorry. I saw someone's hand go up and then go straight down again. Sue, do you have a question?
I put my hand up because I had a question for Donovan, re the Zoom meetings. I had a friend who was invited to a Zoom meeting, and she was told that to join the meeting, she didn't have to actually download Zoom, which I thought was incorrect. But she was worried about downloading Zoom because of security issues. So what would you say to somebody about that?
Yeah, that's right. So if that download doesn't work, eventually there'll come up a prompt below that download and run Zoom where it says join via a browser. Now, when you create a meeting, you can actually, there's a toggle to actually enable that link from the get-go, but the default is to not appear straight away. It's only after you click the download and run. So if she had trouble doing that, or she's concerned about that, if she cancels that, there should, below that will appear a link to join via the browser. And if she does that with Chrome, it'll give her not the exact experience that you get with the client, but it's very close. And the only thing with Chrome is it'll ask for things like Chrome or Zoom is requesting access to your webcam, or it's requesting access to your microphone. You just have to say allow to all those things. And then it's just like how we're talking now, but through a browser with no software installed. And we've done that in our club, and it seems to work fine.
Okay, so I would just say to her then, join through the browser and not download and run Zoom.
Yeah, and ask her to use Chrome as the browser,
Okay,
just to avoid any other, because some of the browsers don't support all the features. And so just to eliminate that, yeah, stick with Chrome.
Do we have other questions? Carole, are there?
Carl?
Yeah, thank you. I have a question for Kate. Thank you for that presentation. It was very useful. Thank you. I have a question. When you're online, like we are now, particularly if you're sharing a slide pack and the faces go off to the side, what you're basically talking to is a screen, is a slide or a piece of hardware, a camera, whatever, as opposed to being in a live meeting where you're talking to people and you're actually getting that human interaction. How can you try? Do you have any techniques, tricks, tips that you use to try and give yourself more expression in that? Because when I'm in a live situation, I'm working off the audience. But when I'm in a hard technology, it's very hard to bring up that same sort of passion in a way. Do you have any tips, or did you put a photograph of George Clooney up on the screen, on the next to the camera, or Brad Pitt or someone? How do you do it?
Yeah, I think you need to ask yourself one question, and that is, why are you using those visuals? And visuals are definitely sometimes needed. And the way you can tell whether a visual is needed or not, you ask one very simple question, which is, what do I have to show my audience that I cannot tell them? And that gets us away from like bullet points and those sorts of things in a slide. And if you can, it does take a little bit of practice, but if you can make sure that you can share when you need to and then remove it, rather than just having your slide that pack up, going through each slide for half an hour, put up what you need and then remove it and keep talking. And that it both mixes it up and also makes you really think about the visuals that you're going to use as well. Other than that, if you absolutely have to have your visuals up, again, just kind of making sure that you're really conscious about putting color into your voice and making sure your voice is strong and clear. Does that help?
Yep, all good. Thanks, Kate.
Excellent. Oh, by the way, for people who've raised their blue hand and had their question answered, perhaps lower the hand once you're done, so we don't think that you have a second question. So, excellent, Carl. Thank you. Do we have other questions? Well, we are 8 minutes past. We have 7 minutes to go in the session, I guess 5 minutes. I think with 30 people, it might be a little bit too much to do a round robin. Is there someone who would like to have a go at doing some public speaking in a table topic? We can invent something for you on the spot.
Yes, I think that's a great idea, Moranga. I'm really keen to ask someone in the audience what they thought about the 3 presentations today, what they learned specifically. So could we have a show of hands if there was someone who would like to do table topics on what they've learned today? Or just unmute and speak now or forever hold your peace.
Well, Emmy has put her thumbs up. I'm guessing that means, all right, she's taken her thumb away.
I'm happy to say something.
Excellent. Patty.
I really enjoyed today's session, and right from the start actually, because I love the way that the timekeeper was explained. I was in the 160 person meeting and I got really confused with the timekeeping there. So I think the idea of having that no camera and then the different colours was excellent. I'll skip straight to, sorry Ranga, but I'll skip straight to Kate's session. I loved the way you talked about the positioning of the camera, and I particularly noticed how you had your gestures. You've obviously trained yourself to use the gestures in this area. And that's from someone who tends to use it lower, that's going to be quite a different change. But I also love the way you talked about the expression of the voice and how you had to overdo things. And that's quite different. That was the main thing that I got from your session, though I did like the fact that you talked about making sure that you set up the expectations at the beginning. And I also enjoyed the final presentation that we had today, and I've forgotten who the speaker was.
The speaker was Donovan.
Thank you, Donovan. Yes.
Excellent. When our club, Manningham, ran its first online meeting, I had a rather strange round robin for people. I don't know if you want to try this at your clubs. I asked people to simply explore their camera view space while speaking about anything as my round robin topic. And this gave people an idea where their hands needed to be relative to where their camera could pick them up.
I'm just watching Sue's cat.
Yeah, so am I.
Ranga, we're approaching.
Sorry, breaking all the rules here.
We are 3 minutes from the end. Carole, are there any things that you need to remind people of?
There are several, and I wonder if you could please put up the slide that has the information about the upcoming meetings.
Sure.
And whilst you're doing that, I just wanted to invite everyone to participate in making these sessions even better. What we would like you to do is to complete a little survey. So in the chat, I've put a link to a Google form that you can use to give us some feedback on today. And in it, there are only 5 or 6 questions. And the last one is, if you would like even more resources, maybe you missed out on those that I've shared today. If you do want them, please put your email into that last question on the Google form. And this session today was run well because we had a team. And I know that Moranga will want to thank his team, but I want to thank Moranga, first of all, to step up in his stepping up to leading this team in presenting today. Because what we're trying to do is, guess what? Create more leaders. And therefore, if you would like an opportunity to do what Moranga has done today and be the Toastmaster of the day for the upcoming meetings, I would really be interested in hearing from you. We have 2 coming up, as you can see now on the slide. The 102 session will build your skills as a confident Zoom host. And here you can ask those nitty-gritty questions that we were attempting to do so today, but with more depth. We have some upcoming presenters there, and all will be revealed very shortly once we've confirmed them. But we will definitely include other speakers from District 73 and our cousins in District 69, wherever we can. So that one is on Sunday, the 19th of April, but this time it's in the morning. You'll have to get up a little earlier on your Sunday and come and join us at 9 a.m. And you register for that one in the District 73 calendar, as you did for this one. The third one in this series is on April 26th, so the day after Anzac Day, and this time again at 12 noon. And we will focus on being an effective Zoom master. We'll give you more opportunities to practice some of those things that you've learned about over the period of time, and it's only a very short period of time, where all of our clubs have dabbled in Zoom quite confidently. But by that date, we're thinking that you will need even more. You're probably thinking, how do I run my club officer elections? How do I do changeovers? If we're still online, the questions that might need to be answered in using Zoom. I'll get one of the co-hosts to mute all again, just in case. I'm not sure if, Moranga, can you mute all, please? Just getting some background noise. Thank you very much. We had some people that came in a little late, and what a pity you missed some of that beginning educationals today, but we'll be able to post the recording for you, and you'll be able to get that from the District 73 website. If you have other questions of the team and you do want to contribute as a presenter, a Toastmaster of the day, then please send that along to me and we'll put it in place for you. With that, I'll hand back to Moranga to give thanks to his team.
Sorry, I've been a very bad attendee at a meeting because I wasn't entirely listening to everything that Carole was saying. Carole, did you tell people how to save the chat?
No, thank you for reminding me. In the chat panel, you will see on the extreme right-hand side 3 little dots. If you hover over that, it will say more, and in there you can save the chat. So if there's things in there that you want to definitely save, like the recent online meetings tip PDF that Kate has shared, then do have a look there. And now, Moranga, would you like to thank your team and we'll close the meeting?
Yes, I'd love to thank my team. Yes, I'd love to thank my team who's definitely more competent than me. And no, I'm not fishing for compliments here. I'd like to thank Donovan, who stepped me through how to share Zoom within Zoom, certainly, because I was struggling with my sharing of Zoom while preparing for this session, and Donovan helped me out. So he's my wonderful help desk as well as for our president of our club. I'd like to thank Fanny for providing crisp and wonderful timing during the meeting. I'd like to thank Christina for providing some of the slides that I used in the meeting and also for keeping me sane and suggesting lots of wonderful things. Carole, who is my mentor in Toastmasters, was the one who asked me to do this. Now, as a suggestion for people who want to know how you can be asked to run a session like this, what you do is you have a chat with your mentor and you quite innocently at the end of the chat ask her, can I help with anything? And then the next thing you know is that you find yourself running one of these meetings. I'd certainly like to thank Kate for presenting such a wonderful educational. I'd heard it before in District 69 and I had to bring it to District 73, and I don't know why I'm slurring my words at the moment. And I think that's my whole team. Thank you all. Thank you for making the parts of the meeting at least be professional. And I'm certainly not going to be looking at the recording of this meeting, but other people can. I'm sure that I had ums and ahs all the way through. So thank you all. We can end the meeting now, but I'd just like to mention that I'm certainly going to hang around after the meeting is officially over if other people have other questions. And perhaps some of my team can hang around a little bit if they have time.
Thank you so much, Moranga. A real applause. Well done. I know that I dropped you in it and you did an awesome job. Please don't put yourself down. I think it demonstrated today that you can do the job. You can run an online meeting. And don't forget, if you are doing level 3, you'll find the elective Manage Online Meetings. What a great way to complete one of those projects.
Okay.
At this point in time, I thank you all for joining us for session 101 and invite you back to 102 and 103 on following Sundays. I'll now close the recording and stay on if you need to chat.